You are currently living in a shrinking hallway. The older you get, the faster the walls seem to close in on you. It is a universal feeling that the years are accelerating, and scientists have finally started to figure out why. Think back to being 7 years old. A single summer vacation felt like an entire lifetime. You explored forests, learned to ride a bike, and felt like August would simply never end. Now you blink and it is suddenly December again. This phenomenon is called the holiday paradox. It is the eerie realization that time feels slow when you are young, but moves at a breakneck pace as you approach middle age. The primary culprit is a concept called proportional theory. It was first proposed by the French philosopher Paul Janet in 1877. He argued that our perception of time is relative to our total lifespan. When you are 5 years old, one single year represents 20% of your entire life. It is a massive, significant chunk of your total experience. But when you turn 50, that same year is only 2% of your existence. Your brain uses these proportions to gauge how much weight to assign to a period of time. As your life grows longer, each individual year carries less and less statistical weight, making the years feel shorter. But it is not just math, it is also about your brain's data processing habits. Think of your brain like a hard drive. When you are a child, your hard drive is empty. Everything is new. You are learning to walk, talk, read, and navigate complex social hierarchies. Because every day is packed with novel, high intensity experiences, your brain has to record every single second. It creates thick, detailed files for every single memory. When you look back at that time, your brain sees a massive amount of dense, rich data. It assumes that because there is so much detail, the period must have been long. Now, consider your life as an adult. You wake up, you commute, you work, you eat, you sleep. You follow the same routine for years. Because your brain has done these things 1,000 times, it stops recording the details. It enters a state of autopilot to save energy. When your brain doesn't have new information to process, it essentially stops marking the passage of time with the same intensity. It stops writing those detailed files. When you look back on a year spent in a repetitive routine, your brain sees almost no new information. It concludes that the year was short simply because it lacks the data to prove otherwise. This is why travel makes time feel like it is slowing down. When you visit a new country, learn a new language, or hike a mountain you have never seen before, your brain is forced to exit autopilot. It begins recording high-resolution data once again. By intentionally breaking your routines, you are physically forcing your brain to expand your perception of time. You are adding more chapters to your personal history. There is also the role of dopamine. This neurotransmitter is involved in our internal clock. In 2011, researchers at the University of California, Davis, explored how our chemical state influences our perception of duration. As we age, our dopamine levels generally begin to decline. Since dopamine helps us track time, a drop in this chemical can lead to a distortion in how we perceive the passing of seconds and minutes. When your biological clock slows down, the outside world feels like it is moving faster. We see this most clearly in the work of psychologist William James. In 1890, he noted that the perceived speed of time is a function of the frequency of new experiences. If you have nothing new to report, your internal calendar accelerates. If your life is stagnant, your years will vanish before you even realize they have arrived. This explains why the period between ages 20 and 30 feels like a distinct epoch, while the decade between 40 and 50 feels like a blur. In your 20s, you are graduating, starting careers, falling in love, and moving to new cities. Your brain is recording a fire hose of new information. In your 40s, you are often cemented into a professional and domestic structure. You have mastery over your environment and therefore less need to pay attention to it. The disturbing reality is that your perception of time is entirely within your control, yet most of us choose to forfeit that control to the comfort of habit. The more you repeat your days, the more you accelerate your own mortality. You are literally compressing your life by refusing to step outside of your comfort zone. The clock on the wall is a constant. It ticks at the exact same rate for everyone, regardless of age. But your internal clock is a subjective, malleable construct. It is not an objective measure of reality. It is a reflection of how much you are actually experiencing. If you want to slow down time, you cannot just wait for the calendar to change. You have to actively hunt for novelty. You have to learn the instrument you were too afraid to touch. You have to take the route home that you have never traveled. You have to engage with the world with the same intensity of a 5-year-old child. Because if you don't, your life will continue to speed up. The years will continue to dissolve into months, and the months into weeks. Ultimately, the goal is not to live longer in terms of years, but to live deeper in terms of experience. If you find that your life is moving too fast, it is a signal from your own brain that you have stopped learning. You are no longer providing yourself with the data needed to justify the passage of time. The hallway is only closing in because you have stopped looking at the walls. What will you do differently tomorrow to ensure that the year ahead actually feels like a year?